Well, hello everyone, and welcome to 2025. I remember when 2025 seemed so far out there, and here I am with all of you on the first day of 2025. I thought it would be really cool if we just started this year off just with our focus on the Lord. And I have met someone recently that I've got here with us today, and he's on a mission, and we're going to talk about that mission. His name is Dr. Eric Becking, and he lives in the Cape Girardeau area, and he's a chiropractor, a father, a man of faith, and he created a prayer movement, the 316 prayer movement. And he has this thing where he does Chuck Taylor Tuesdays. And so everybody who wears their Converses, their Chuck Taylor Tuesdays, they have common ground to connect on. And that's what we need. We need more connection. So I wanted to start off 2025 being more intentional about how we connect with each other, because it's really about having good connections, quality connections, relationships that have depth to them. Many times people just know each other on surface levels, and they get so involved in their own lives, their own schedules, that they don't make time to actually get to know people. But God created us as relational beings and to be in relationship with one another, because when we are in relationship with one another and we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and to get to know others, God can grow us as individuals. And I believe, my personal mission is to see revival in families, and revival take off across the globe. But the only way we're going to see that happen is when we see relationships restored, families restored. That's what true revival is about. True revival happens around the table. We're all part of the family of God, and God is inviting you to his table today. So let's start out right on 2025 and be intentional. So welcome to our table. And I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest. Got a new setup here. It's a little bit different. There we go.
And there he
Hello,
is.
Eric.
Hello,
Welcome.
hello. Good afternoon. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, it is. It's so fun seeing how the countdown and how you merge me on, and it's so neat. So I really love the kickoff. It really is all about connection. You know,
Yes.
that's how you and I even met. And so I'm thrilled to have this opportunity at the kickoff of the year. I think there's a lot of things that try to get our attention, and when we get simple, it actually allows us to be more where God wants us to be. So thank you for this chance, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what God's going to pull off.
Amen. Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how long have you been in the Cape Girardeau area?
I've been in Cape probably 20 years. I've had a practice here for 20 years. I'm from the Southeast Missouri area my whole life. So I'm definitely what they would call a boot heel. That's kind of the region, is the boot heel of Missouri. So my whole life, I'm 50. So I've lived here most of my life, but went away for school and chiropractic school and all that. But we've been in town, 20 years, and very involved in the community. And it's a fun opportunity for real.
Yeah. Yeah, when I met you, and we got to actually meet at a cute little tea shop that my friend owns, Tony. It's called Forte, and there is just it's a cute little town. It's kind of similar to Marion, the town that I live in. It's like a little Hallmark town.
Yeah.
But we met, and me and Neva, a missionary that's staying with me, and got to talk and hear a little bit about your mission.
Yeah.
Uh, let's start off, I guess, uh, with you do a broadcast. It's is it daily?
Yeah, pretty much. I
Okay.
do. I miss occasionally. With life can just come at you. So sometimes I try to do it first thing in the morning, but my schedule sometimes changes. But I really do try to commit to a daily,
Hmm.
kind of like the concept of daily bread. I mean, we really need daily reminders, encouragements, and kind of really getting our mind in the right place.
Yeah. So you've been doing that for like, was it 9 years?
Man, it's been a while. I don't know if it's been quite that long.
Mhm.
As far as like the Facebook, are you talking my Facebook? Or are you talking the Chuck Taylor Tuesday?
I guess I guess tells both. Fill us in
Well,
on both. What? Yeah, just give us some background. How did you start that? Because this is what is really intriguing to me. So, just tell us how that all started.
I would say so. The Chucks, like I never even had really worn Chucks before. So
Hmm.
Converse, most people know them as Converse All Stars or Chucks, but a buddy was wearing them one day, and I was kind of looking for a shoe that was, it wasn't a tennis shoe, but it wasn't for sure a dress shoe, but something that kind of a go between. And he was wearing. I was like, you know what, I like that. What is that? He said, oh, they're Chuck Taylor tennis shoes. I was like, okay, where do I get them? And so he told me Journeys at the mall. So I go out and I get it like a gray pair, very generic. And I started wearing them on the weekends. But what I started noticing happening was that people would literally go out of their way to say something about my Chucks, like, "Hey, I love your Chucks," or "Oh man, I rock Chucks too." I mean, this whole thing was happening, and I was so taken back by that because I had not experienced that before. So then I thought, you know what? I love how this is allowing me to have conversations with people that I wouldn't normally have conversations with. And in my practice, I was always wearing a suit, dress shoes, and I could appear, maybe unapproachable or just not as relatable. And I didn't like that because I was like experiencing on the weekends this like no walls at all, word to the walls ministry, walls down, right?
Without walls.
Without walls. Exactly that. Like I didn't even mean to say it, but that's what it is. It's without walls. Like,
Yeah.
are we relatable? And so I said, what if I started wearing my Chucks with my suit to work and see if I could experience that same kind of relatability? And
Hmm.
so green was our brand, and so I started wearing green Chucks. And this was kind of back in the day when you couldn't really wear Chucks with a suit. It was definitely a risk, but it worked. And literally almost day one, the vibe in my clinic completely changed, and I began to have these you know interactions that I had really wanted, but I could never get to happen.
Hmm.
So if this happens with me, what if it could happen with everybody?
Right.
What if everybody could have a way to connect with total strangers,
Hmm.
or people that you might not even talk to, but you just see them from a distance. And so I said, what if we could get everybody wearing their Chucks? Not just randomly, but like one day a week, everybody that wears Chucks, let's wear them that day. And then you get to just connect with so many people. So I just kind of started going through the day, Tuesday, Chuck Taylor Wednesday, and it just hit on Chuck Taylor Tuesday. I was like, that's perfect. So that's kind of how it came about. And then I started promoting it. I started really realizing the power that it could be because it's a global brand. All ages relate to it. It's so unexpected, and it's just an easy entry. And so that's when I really realized it's all the things that you were talking about earlier. It's the connection.
Hmm.
It's it's an unspoken, like I don't even have to say anything. I can just wear them,
Hmm.
and you're aligning with people.
Yeah.
And I think as adults, I don't know if you find this, but we're both pretty talkative and we're sociable people, so we don't struggle with it like maybe some do. But as adults, sometimes it's hard to start conversations. It's hard to
Hmm.
make friend.
Yeah.
And it can be stressful and give people anxiety. And so what if you had a way that just is just a pair of sneakers, it's just a pair of tennis shoes, and you wear them, and next thing you know, you're talking with someone just kind of out of the blue, and end up finding out you have a lot in common.
Right. We all have things that we can connect on. You just
Yeah,
have to find what that common denominator is. I mean, all of us are wanting to be known and
yeah,
wanting to be loved.
yes,
And we can share that even in something as simple as something like shoes.
yeah. And you hit on a couple things. Number one, it's from kind of the book. Dale Carnegie has a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People,
Oh my
and it's
gosh,
a
one of my favorites.
and it's a that's I think it's nearly 100 years in print. I mean,
Hmm.
anybody that does anything in the people industry is familiar, and so there's a couple of points he makes in the book. One is that if you have just one thing in common,
Hmm.
you actually can be friends. Just one thing. And so when I was like, okay, so what could I have in common with like everyone? And when I stumbled on to the Chuck tennis shoe, it fit that category. Like hardly anyone, when they see that shoe, they're not, oh, I don't know what that is. Oh, I've never seen that before. But
Right.
it gives you a common ground immediately. So then if we're friends, then, you're coming out of the gate super strong
Right.
because you're friends. And then you find other stuff that maybe you have in common as well, but you start out just like that. There's not this kind of awkward time of like, you know what, I don't think we really have anything in common. And it could be people that you look at and think, I don't think I have anything in common with them. You wouldn't even start a conversation, but they're wearing Chucks, or maybe they don't have their Chucks on, but you have yours on, and they wear Chucks. Like, oh my gosh, I usually have my Chucks on, but I don't today. Like, oh my gosh, that's great. And we're talking.
Hmm.
And you go right into this conversation where someone would walk up and think, man, how long have you guys known each other? You guys are just totally talking. And I was like, we
Hmm.
just met.
Yeah.
And then the other point, Dale Carnegie said that the greatest human need is to feel important.
Hmm.
It's not a want, it's not a hope so, it's a need, to feel important. And really, all that is love.
Yeah.
People want to feel loved, they want to feel noticed, they want to feel cared about. And God put that in us. And so, man, when we can recognize that, we can be friends with everyone, or work to become friends with everyone, and then realize that, like, what do we need to do for this person to feel special? And I think service is everything. That's kind of my going to be my theme for this year is I'm here to serve. And
Yeah.
when we serve, it breaks down all the walls.
Yeah.
Just like we were sharing, when Jesus washed the feet of his
Hmm.
disciples, that was the game changer. Like,
Yeah.
you don't do that. Like, he doesn't do that. They're like, we can't let you do that,
Hmm.
because it was such a social norm that he was going to just break. And I think that's the opportunity that we have, as just as believers, is to really stand out in a great way.
Hmm.
People are looking for what we found.
Yes. So true. So true. So normally you end your broadcast with this. It's like, let us begin. It's a Mother Teresa quote, which is actually one of my favorite quotes as well. Um,
Yes.
but I think it's really neat and really significant. Here we are on January 1st. It's
Yeah.
the very first day of the year. We're setting
Yeah.
the tone, we're setting the atmosphere, um, and focusing on the one thing. One of the things that you talk about a lot is keeping it simple,
Yeah.
and bringing it back to square one.
Yes.
Elaborate a little bit on that for us.
Yeah. I feel like that I'm always looking for like a one thing, like a
Hmm.
catch all, that if you do this one thing, it kind of gets everything in line. And the concept of square one, a friend introduced me to that. It was his kind of get back to the basics philosophy, but I just kind of elaborated on it. But
Hmm.
it's this idea that we all have habits, very rooted habits that have been in our life and that have really helped us and really make us our best.
Mhm.
But life gets hectic and we get busy and we add things, and you look and you start realizing that the very things that make you your best, you're not doing them. It can be
Mhm.
something as simple as making your bed.
Yeah.
And you notice you're like, man, I haven't been making my bed. Well, what happened? You just get behind schedule, and you're like, you know what? I'll make it later or tomorrow. And next thing you know, it's been 6 months. You've not made your bed,
Mhm.
and you didn't even know. But that's a square one habit, and each one of these affects us. You know, the same concept of just keeping it simple, like
Mhm.
one thing. Like I love one thing because it's doable.
Yeah.
I think it gets, especially at the beginning of the year, it could be pretty overwhelming because you're thinking,
Mhm.
man, I got to make so much change. And maybe you're unhappy with how your life's going and you've got, so many things. And it's just more than you can really take on. And it's stressful. Instead of just, what if you just picked one, maybe two things
Mhm.
and just get started? And a lot of my videos in the mornings when I'm talking about this, I'll give examples of like a square one and like a keep it simple. So let's say you
Mhm.
want to start exercising. Don't even think about joining the gym yet. Just do a push up
Mhm.
today, like one. And
Mhm.
well, that doesn't even count. Like one push up, that doesn't count as working out. Well, it actually does because you haven't been doing push ups. So you do one. And when we do one, we actually get started. And that's the hardest part. So then let's say, all right, tomorrow I'm going to do another one. Maybe you say, this week I'm going to do one push up and I'm just going to feel what that feels like every day to do one push up.
Mhm.
And if the next week, if you want to go to two, okay, go to two. But again, if you kind of let that play out in any area of your life, I talk about wanting to start a book, and it just seems too overwhelming. You never pick it up because it's this big book that I
Mhm.
don't have time. But what if you said, you know what, I'm going to read one sentence. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to read one sentence, maybe one paragraph. You just got to get started. So it needs to be small enough that you can start.
Mhm.
I think play that with anything. And so just the concept of the what catches me with Mother Teresa's quote that let us begin. It's such a beautiful invitation to let us just begin. This isn't about, you should be further along or,
Getting it right. Mhm.
we got to do. She literally says, let us begin. So I
Mhm.
just imagine Mother Teresa, what a perfect figure for our kickoff to the year is. We think about serving, and we think about being intentional and taking action. We literally can hear Mother Teresa say, "Let us begin," and it's like whatever that means for you, whatever you mean, whatever it means. Today is the beginning.
Yeah.
It's fresh. It's brand new. It's not a comparison game of like, where are you compared to me? It's straight up like, what do you need to do, to really connect right where you are in your life, and
Mhm.
connecting with God is essential. That vertical relationship, nothing really is going to make sense if that one doesn't. And
Right.
so that's number one, really. So just that one right there, when we say let us begin, let's begin our relationship with God, whatever that looks like.
Mhm.
And it can be something as simple as just saying to God, like, God, I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And you
You know,
started the conversation. Yeah.
a lot of our hangups I think that we have are rooted in our relationship with God. A lot of times we think that things are solid with God, our relationship, our understanding of God.
Yeah.
But when we actually take that time and we invest in getting to know God, whether
Yeah.
it's taking that break in the mornings
Yeah.
and pausing uh, and reading some scripture, and it doesn't have to be like long, but just
Yeah.
a portion of scripture, and
Right.
just sitting. I mean, I found sometimes not even saying anything, but just sitting, say, Lord, I'm here. I'm
Yes.
here with you. I'm present in this moment. Say what you want to say, do what you want to do, and just sit
Yeah.
and wait.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you can literally feel a tangible presence of God. And I
Yeah.
think when we do that, we'll start to recognize Him more throughout our day, and He'll align our steps, people that we come in contact with, the conversations.
Yeah.
Once we find that common denominator, whatever it may be, whether it's converses
Yeah.
or maybe your mom, you both have kids,
Yeah.
or
All of that.
business people, or whatever the connection is. Once you get that connection, how do you keep those communication? How do you keep that communication rolling? How do you add depth to those conversations?
Yeah.
It's one
Well,
thing
I
to
think for,
connect,
yeah.
just connect, but
Yeah.
people are actually wanting, I think, more than that. They're wanting um, to understand. I think, especially with believers, if people can recognize that there's something within you, they
Yeah.
recognize that the Spirit of God within you, they
For
want to
real. Yeah.
connect. So, how do
Yeah. I
we,
agree.
as believers, release that and
Yeah.
connect with others?
I think a couple things that as you bring that up, because I'm thinking, okay, how do I do that, and what do we do? And I think number one is just being spirit filled in a way um, that you're familiar with God's nudges, I call them.
Hmm.
Whether where you just know that you're supposed to say something to that person, or you're supposed to go meet that person. And again, it's hard to describe if you don't, but I think most people, especially women, really can relate to that kind of like that instinct feeling,
Hmm.
whether it's your female instinct or it is truly the Holy Spirit just nudging you. But listening to that, and it requires trust,
Yeah.
and it takes it's a risk,
Hmm.
but you test it, and so you're literally kind of like, it's kind of that feel, like you got to just feel it, like
Hmm.
it's like like when you're playing music, or and you may not be like playing the exact, the way it's written, and you just feel it where you hold it a little longer because you just felt like you should. And that's that sweet, kind of like that sweet spot. So for me, I would say just giving yourself permission to let God lead you,
Hmm.
and just lean into that. Even if
Yeah.
you've never really done it, lean into it and just give it a go.
Mhm.
Like effective right now, like day one of the new year, be willing. Just be willing to just step out of your comfort
Yeah.
and listen, because that's one of the things I love about God is He'll lead us.
Hmm.
Like He really will lead you, but it takes faith. You got to really just trust that piece. And the other thing I was thinking about, I remember being at like a chamber of commerce event, where it's business leaders, and you're there. You don't really know a lot of people, and it's very surface, and you kind of sometimes you don't even want to go to that kind of event because it just doesn't feel very. It doesn't feel very. I don't know, genuine. And I
Hmm.
remember going to an event one time, and I said, you know what? I'm going to treat this differently. I'm gonna talk to everybody as if they're my friend, and I'm just going to tell them what's going on in my life. Like I'm not going to be like, oh, it's good, and real surface, like you would
Hmm.
like there wasn't really they weren't really. And so I'll never forget the first time I did that. It was a game changer. Like that event, instead of it being something I was avoiding, it became so like awesome, because as soon as I shared something that was
Hmm.
kind of like a little bit deeper, the other person shared something back.
Right.
And the next thing I know, people were coming over and they're like listening, and they're like, how long have you guys known each other? And I said, we just met. And
Yeah.
it was like electric, because it took somebody, and I think me, I was just so frustrated with feeling like I was wasting my time, that I said, you know what? I don't want to waste my time. So if I'm going to be here, I'm actually I'm gonna share my life with this person.
Hmm.
And it turns out they shared their life back.
Hmm.
And that was years ago, and it kind of kicked off. I didn't even mean for it to happen, but it kind of kicked off this real desire and want to just start being more real
Mm-hmm.
in all situations. And so I think that part of what you're talking about, this connection, is it takes us being willing to go a little deeper,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe right out of the gate, where you
Yeah.
just say, you know what, I'm having a really tough day, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Or, I remember saying, it's like, it's hard being a parent sometimes. We were running around and it was just crazy, and I didn't even want to come, but I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know I was going to meet anybody. And I was kind of nervous, and I was just talking like that. And they were like, man, so was I. And then they'll say, you know what, I've been struggling with whatever, and next thing you know, you're like really talking.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it took somebody, you know, willing to kind of break that traditional
Yeah.
mold. What I mean?
Yeah. There's power in being vulnerable. Like
Huge.
people are a bit nervous sometimes to let who they really are out, or
Yeah.
or to share, what's really going on, because they're worried about people's perceptions and all that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe as I get older, my worry about people's perception of me
Is
grows
less.
less and less, and I love it.
Yes.
This is
I do
like
too.
the best season of my life ever. I'm not your
And I
cup of tea. Oh well.
and I kind of wonder if we can just adopt that as our new way, instead of having to, age into that philosophy. What if we just decided that we're unique,
Yeah.
and everybody is, and so
Yeah.
let's just I think it really is that, let's just treat everyone like they are our actual friend, even though we're just
Hmm.
meeting. Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and give them that role, and if as we treat them like our friend, they actually are our friend.
Hmm.
And it starts to, I kind of think of it that everybody is family, like it or not. Like, we all come from God, whether you believe that or not. And so we really are family,
Hmm.
and it really is worth meeting each other. It really is worth valuing each other.
Yeah.
Even if you never speak again, it's an opportunity. And I think every day we have opportunities that show up that we either take or we don't.
Hmm.
Doesn't mean you got to talk to everyone, but there's times when it's obvious, and we could step into that. And I think it's the heart of God, really. I think community, that
Yes.
unity, I think it's the heart of God. Um, he wants us to be in community,
Yeah.
and caring about each other, knowing each other, and like, even us, you and I, knowing each other, and from
Hmm.
Neva introducing us, like, that only happens if we're willing to let that happen.
Right.
We could be so busy,
Hmm.
um, that we never schedule it.
Right.
Um, and again, it's subtle little decisions that we make that could change everything, either
Yes.
way. Because you guys have added such value to my life in this last 6 weeks, and even to be on this broadcast at the beginning of the year. This only happens if we're willing to make some choices, and to take some risks.
I call it giving God your yes. That's one of
Yes,
my things.
me too. I love
My
that.
mission has always been, um, I want to say yes to God whenever, wherever,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
That used to be on my Facebook page, like, the little intro. That was my
yeah.
intro for many, many, many years.
Wow.
So yeah,
Well, that's
everybody
tax.
has a yes. God
That's it.
has
He does.
opportunities for us if we're willing to say yes. Maybe some people are listening today, and you're not a person of faith. You're not in a relationship with God. But God is there, and God does
Yeah,
want to be close to you. God does want to know you.
yeah,
And when you say yes, when you take that risk and you trust, He'll meet you. He'll meet you right where you are.
yeah.
And
And
it's a journey that, for me, my faith journey is everything. I've known the Lord since I was 5 years old, so I've been walking with Him. I've not always been close to Him, but through life experiences and things like that. I've grown year after year, and he's really. There's a scripture that says there's one that's closer than a brother, and he really is. He's really right here, even right now, here in this broadcast. Maybe you're listening. God's presence is right here with us right now.
Right.
And that is the game changer
It
for everything.
is.
And that is the one thing, the absolute one thing. We're going to talk about one today. That is the one thing that will change everything when you're in alignment with Him.
Yeah.
So may everybody be in alignment with Him today.
That's the truth.
Speaking, we were talking about. There's so many interesting things here to cover in a short amount of time. But you are a father of 5.
Yeah.
So, tell us a little bit about your. Let us into your world. Tell us a little bit about your girls.
Well, that's a big one right there. I was married for 10 years before we decided to even really start a family.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the time, Chantel kind of just brought it up and said, I think it's time to consider like thinking about having a family." And we had never, we had never had a kid. We weren't trying not to, and it just had never happened. And so she was like, "I feel like we should adopt." And I didn't have an opinion like really one way or the other, but I was open to it, and I was open to starting a family. And so it was wild. We went to church, the church that we'd been attending, and they had a international adoption meeting, like that was scheduled, and we're like, unbelievable. Like we just have this idea, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
this meeting.
Confirmation. Mm-hmm.
So we go to it.
Whoops.
Families that shared and we just really related to, and I was like, this is just meant to be. And so we go, and we're both like, are we thinking about this? Is this really going to happen? And God just kind of started planting those seeds in us, and over time. But again, it's all trust. It's all trust that you got to just trust that God is leading you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm like sure. Like, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. I can see you. You
Hang
faded
on
out for
here.
1 second, but I can see you.
Well, we're having a little technical difficulty. I don't know if I should keep talking,
Oh yeah, I can see you.
but you're
So
frozen
yeah,
on your
if I
end
can
over
see you,
there.
then everyone else can see you. You're still good. If your screen goes black, I'll let you know.
There we are. Sorry, what happened there?
No, we didn't lose you. But you lost us for a second. We're
I
connected.
lost
We're
the
all good.
audio now.
We got the connection.
I can't hear you now.
You can't hear me? Let me
Well,
see. Oh
let me
my
come back here. Let
gosh,
me
you
try
can't
this
hear
again.
me. Testing.
Oh God, I can hear you now. Yes.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus.
Hey, hey, you know
No, as you say, no worries, mate. No worries.
no worries, Mike. You know what's so beautiful about live is this is actually real life.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great play into what I would say every day is the quicker that we can roll with stuff. That's one of the things I've learned about being a dad to 5. That's is you can have a general idea, but just know that it's never going to probably be like what you think.
Yeah.
And it's actually even better. So even like that for us, like it's as a perfect segue into truly like walking with the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might be heading north or heading down one way, and in a split second, you're going to go opposite direction.
Yeah.
For no other reason that it's just that's what happened.
Yeah.
And when we can do that, like I would say that's probably one of the strongest characteristics that I appreciate, that I've learned, is a willingness to shift gears and quickly, and not lose any, not be tense about it, not have any stress about it, but just trusting God. It's a straight up just, I just trust God, that even when something seems like a glitch, or I'm stressed because it's not going exactly what I thought, it's exactly what God is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
even for us to recover from that little, little minute and a half little window right there, I think
Mm-hmm.
it's so applicable to exactly what we're talking about as we kick this year off, because it's going to be what we make it.
Yes.
So you can be overwhelmed and stressed and worried and depressed and regret, all you can be all of that, or you can
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm not going to be that. I'm going to be
Yeah.
hopeful. I'm going to be excited for what's coming. I'm going to be walking in faith.
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry. I'm going to pray instead. Like, just making that one decision, like you said, one decision to say, I'm going to trust you, God, and I'm going to follow you. And that everything falls in line. And so in a summation, that kind of is how I ended up having 5 adopted daughters. Is it began with an international adoption to Guatemala. Bianca was home with us for a couple years, and then Chantel felt like Africa was calling,
Mm-hmm.
and I kind of just had the um, choice and the decision that I wanted to support whatever she felt like God was leading her to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we went with that and have our daughter solely, and then we were foster parents. And from that experience, we were able to have 3 other girls. We had other kids that lived with us but didn't stay with us. But
Mm-hmm.
it all just kind of worked out, and it was great. We had a Christmas gathering, and and there's another plot twist. We ended up getting a divorce. Like
Mm-hmm.
3 or 4 years ago. That was not the plan. I don't think for either of us, for sure. But life happens, and it throws you a curveball. But we've kind of come back full circle, and we ended up spending Christmas together. Um, and I was actually talking to the girls about this. I was just telling them how proud I was of them, for just getting through this transition.
Yeah.
And then I also just talked to them about how cool it is that God brought them to to their mom and to me to be their parents. Like, it's one thing
Mm-hmm.
to birth a kid, that's a miracle, no doubt. But
Mm-hmm.
to think about these little girls, how they came into the world, and that they would find their way into our home and then be
Mm-hmm.
sisters, and like, that's God.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, it's kind of almost unbelievable. And it just gives me such hope, and it's exciting. And I would
Yeah.
say, for all of us, God has an amazing plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I think whatever we can do to figure out, like, what is it that God's called me to do and be, it's worth it,
Yeah.
because we're unique. There's no other one of us and there's no other exact makeup and calling than us. And I just don't want people to settle. Don't, just because it's scary, or you don't know, or like, that's how we all feel. You don't know. That's faith.
Right.
And so you just jump in and you go. Like,
Faith,
that's one of my
but you don't.
that's my
You can't see it.
that's it. It's not it's
Trust.
not faith is not, it's not sight. Sight is sight. But
Mm-hmm.
faith is truly that. It's faith. And so we have an awesome opportunity, I think, this year, to allow God to blow the doors off of what we think is possible.
Yes.
And that's what I want to say, and I know that's your heart too, is, let's be willing. Like, let's just be willing to trust God, and to let him take the lead, and take some risks. You know, feel that kind of fear, that whatever you think is, that those uncomfortable feelings, but just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it anyways.
Right. I love that. Yes. That's what we need more of. If more people would take risk,
Yeah.
then more things would get done. If more people would take action. But the problem is our walls. We have walls of fear.
Yeah.
We have walls of things, that happen to us. For instance, like both of us are divorced,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, especially people of faith, that can really be like a stumbling block. Like, how am I ever going to get past this? Because I envisioned my life this way,
Right.
and now it's not. How do I
Yes.
put myself back together? How do I rebuild my identity, my community? Because so many things were merged. For me, it was like 17 years. I
Sure.
grew up with him.
Yeah.
So, in your church and faith and like that, I mean, those are shaky things, but they're real things.
The
And
real thing.
these are things that we get hung up on, where in these walls come up, and then we don't connect with people like God really wants us to connect with,
Yeah.
because we're either ashamed because, we've gone through a divorce, or,
Yeah.
we carry certain perspectives of ourselves. A lot of times they're just lies. They're lies from the enemy. One of the amazing things that happened with me is when I gave God my yes again after the
Mm.
divorce. I said, you know what? I don't care. Whatever. I'm going to say yes. I
Yeah.
know it's probably going to open up a can of worms. They're telling what's going to happen when I say yes. They're telling what you're going to ask me to do. Of course, it was to come here, in Southern Illinois, and work within a revival movement here. But when I said yes, that's when I had my breakthrough. That's
Yeah.
when things started really aligning. In the last 4 years of my life, I've been here, in Southern Illinois for 4 years,
Wow.
um, has totally got into a perfect alignment just from me saying that yes. But if I hadn't given him my yes, and I would have just hung on to, I'm just never going to be able to bounce back from this,
Yeah.
then I wouldn't be here sitting with you right now in this moment.
Yeah.
We wouldn't
Yeah.
be here as a group, those who are listening in. We wouldn't be here together in this moment. But
Yeah.
it's because of my yes. It's because of Eric's yes, that we're all here in this moment.
And it's so reassuring. I mean, what a great kind of explanation of life where we are where we're supposed to be,
Hmm.
and and it's such an opportunity. I really love the opportunity of a choice.
Hmm.
You know, that you can just choose today, just like you did. You're like, you know what? I'm going to say yes. I could keep saying no, and you could, and you can stay, and I get it. But even like today, I'm inspired to go ahead and say yes,
Hmm.
to not know, the things that are going to show up today, to not know the conversations that might happen. But I got
Hmm.
to make a decision each time. Am I going to lean into it? And it's
Hmm.
so exciting. I think walking with God is one of the most exciting ways to live. I don't know any other way to live.
Hmm.
Um, because it's almost like having like a special power, because you don't know. Like, it looks like the way you act, it looks like
Hmm.
because you're just so certain about it. But I'm so used to following God that kind of I act like I know, but I don't.
Right.
And I think that's kind of like that special sauce right there that everybody's looking for, is that's faith. But you want to, like, basically have it all set out so that it's easier to have faith, but that's not faith.
Yeah.
It gets easier. Actually, it doesn't get easier. It's still the same thing. You got to trust God. And I think that's really the common thread, is you got to just trust God. Just like a
Yeah.
little kid. If we're willing to
That's
trust
right.
God, just like a little kid, it speeds up everything.
Yes, it does.
We don't get in the way anymore. Like, we hold it back, and he's a loving God and wants the best for us. And,
Yes.
and sometimes that's going to be going through hard things, not because he's punishing us, but we
Hmm.
don't learn trust any other way. We don't learn. It's like when the Carrie Underwood song, "Jesus Take the Wheel." Like, that really means that he's driving.
Yeah.
Like, you're not even holding on to the steering wheel to like
Hmm.
influence it. Like, he's driving. And I've got a permit driver, and I'm experiencing this differently. Like, I'm letting her drive.
Hmm.
And there's many times that I'm like, whoa, like she's about to run up on a curb, and or I didn't know she was going to turn left, and I thought she was going to turn right, and it's like it's a practical example of how God works. And
Hmm.
but the thing is that we can just trust Him.
Yeah.
We can
Sometimes
just
we
trust
make
Him.
those turns, and
Yeah,
God's got in, here's where I want you, but you make this turn or that turn, and He
yeah,
eventually, pulls us back on track.
yeah. It's so good. I think
Very creative.
I think one of the things that, like, as when we look at this new year, like, what's a great way for us to have the most impact and to do the one thing. And I think it wraps
Mhm.
up what you're saying about connecting with God, and is it's having a set time every day. And that's where that 316 kind of
Yeah.
prayer time came in, was having an exact set time, the same time every day, where you pause and we pray. We say, "Thy kingdom come." It's 1 second, but it's the
Hmm.
same every day. And you can connect your family, you can connect your friends, your coworkers, your church.
Hmm.
It's the same exact time, and it just gets you out of the just kind of the blur of life, where you don't even know what time it is or what day it is. But every day, at 316, I'm going to pause. I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to think about my relationship with God. I'm going to say a quick prayer. But it does all of that without you even really thinking about it, because you put it in your phone. It's an alert, just like every other thing in your life, and it accomplishes all of that.
Hmm.
I think when you feel connected and when you feel kind of grounded, you're going to feel peace.
Yeah.
Um, there's hope.
Hmm.
There's genuine happiness, because you're not just getting like pushed around and just hanging on for dear life. So at least that's my opinion. I found it to be so helpful, and I really think as believers, there's such power in unity.
Hmm.
So I would love to see all of you actually take that action step and actually put it in your
Yeah.
phone, an alert, a daily alert, and begin to do that with us, and share the word and share
Yes.
that message. And it's a powerful way to us to be aligned every day, to stay
Yeah.
connected.
It's so neat. I put the alarm on my phone, and I get up at 3:16 every morning, and then I listen, like do devotionals and stuff like that afterwards. But in the afternoon, no matter where I'm at, that alarm goes off, and it's so neat. We'll be out and about, and Neva, who's living with me right now, she might be in another part of the store or whatever, and we'll both hear each other's alarms
Oh,
off.
that's so cool.
Prayer time, it's so cool. So it'll be neat, that we're still going to be connected like that. Uh,
Right.
for my listeners, we'll have Neva on. We're going to do a follow up broadcast probably next week. So you'll
Beautiful.
get to hear, if you don't know who Neva is, you'll get to hear more about her. It's been a
Yeah.
beautiful four
She's a
months. So
special she's a special human, that's for sure.
she is. She's a take action human for real.
Yes.
So just she's inspired so much in all of us. I know, the connection that we have, Tony and you and me and um, all of us. Neva's just she's come through like I don't know what you call her, a little tornado.
Yeah,
She
she's for
stirred
sure
things up,
she's for
but
sure a
that's
catalyst.
true. That's true revival. We can have ministers that preach great things from a pulpit and create movements and do mass crusades and all those. Those are great. They're part of it too. But what I'm finding is this personal one-on-one, when you really get to the depth of people, and you really, because if Jesus was here, what would he be doing?
Yeah.
He'd be sitting with you. He'd be
He really
listening to your heart. He'd be listening to your hurts, and then he would be tending to them. So
yeah.
the problem is we have powerless churches because we're
Mm,
not actually tending to the sheep.
mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, man,
that's my
that's a good word right there. And I think it is just, and that's where that connection comes in, because when you connect with a person, and it can be just a couple of minutes. It
hmm
doesn't always be these big conversations. And
Right.
just just caring about somebody.
Yeah.
Just seeing that they're having a tough day,
Yeah.
or whatever, and you smile and you give them a pat on the shoulder and just say, "Man, I'm sorry that it's going tough. I'm gonna be praying for you," or you maybe even just pray for them right then. You say, "You know what? May God bless you and keep you, and I'm gonna be rooting for you."
Yeah.
And it's just that. But what an impact! You think about even today, as we still got a ton of our day left.
Hmm.
The times at the gas station, the maybe you go to Walmart, or maybe you're going to get your coffee, or even in traffic, and you see somebody across the way and you just give them a wave,
Yeah.
and then that little interaction right there, that's real.
Hmm.
And and you begin to connect with your life just as it's going. I think that sometimes it's like we want to stop everything so we can get it just right, but life's always going. It's
Hmm.
like it doesn't ever stop where you just get to do it just right. It's
Yeah.
like, it's like the stream, it's like a river, like it's constantly flowing. Like, and that's the way it's going to be. So we have to interject like things like the 316 pause and pray, where it
Hmm.
literally interrupts the normal broadcast of your life and says there's a public service announcement. It's prayer time.
Yeah. And we've started the daily
Tea
tea
time.
time,
I
and
love the tea time. It's
yeah.
beautiful, and it's just so fun. Like
Yes, it is.
it's like I think a lot of things in our life are they're so task oriented, and so what am I accomplishing, and we
Yeah.
forget that we're just living. It's like the good old fashioned, just we're just sharing a chat, and we're sharing a tea, and,
Hmm.
and so much comes out of it. Like and you don't even realize it. It's healing. It's decompressing. You're getting to know someone. You're laughing. You're just letting stuff off your chest. I mean, it's like, again, how does something so simple as a tea time do all of that? But it does. So
Hmm.
so maybe this year too, we focus on community,
Yeah.
which is a tea time, and being more intentional, keeping it simple. Taking your one step. And these are all things that you could start immediately, just apply to your life. But I think community is at the top, man. Community with God and community with each other. That's where it all happens. That's where we heal from divorce.
Hmm.
That's where we have relatability. Like if we're walking through parenting issues, like we got to be willing to take risks. You got to be willing to tell your story. You got to be willing to say that you're going through something, and then that person will tell you what they're going through. But we can lead that as the church. We can lead this honesty, and
Hmm.
it's not easy though. It's
Right.
not easy. Sometimes you don't really want to talk about it, and it's scary. But you go ahead anyways, and we grow.
The easy thing is to stay at surface level.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and
Because when
that's
you
just
open up yourself, and then people know the parts about you,
ooh,
and
yeah,
sometimes,
yeah,
yeah, it can flip. Especially, I'm a pastor, so
yeah,
yeah, when you're vulnerable with people, when you get close, you open up yourself to also get wounded, but
yeah,
it's still worth it. And when you really trust God and you make it not about yourself and
yeah.
you release people, it's not as scary anymore to be
It's
like
true. Yeah,
um, and it makes a difference too when you can go back and you can love those people no matter what they've done to you,
yeah,
and you can truly truly love them.
yeah.
Just understand, like, what they did is not God.
No,
That doesn't represent God,
yeah.
you know.
Agreed.
But our response to them is what matters. How do we
Yeah,
truly show compassion and love them back and love them where they're at? Because maybe they're not where we're at with the
yeah,
Lord.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's love. It's not Hollywood's version of love. It's God's version of love, and
Yeah.
it literally is the solution. It's the concept of friendship, but it's it's uh, it's love,
Yeah.
and it's such a man. It's so sweet, um, when you really let it just be that, where there's forgiveness, there's grace, there's acceptance. You know, those are words that we don't really see in our culture. Forgiveness, grace, acceptance. Like that's
Yeah.
not the standard.
It's all
But
about my rights
yeah,
and taking back control over everything. And in biblical way of that is totally different.
yeah, it really is. I'm actually kind of excited. The girls, the kids we're going to talk about today, this, the beginning of the year. And I'm just going to talk to them about my theme this year is here to serve. It
Hmm.
just kind of feel like God just kind of put that in my spirit, just here to serve. And I want to teach them is like, what? I want you guys to be people that you think about others,
Hmm.
and we're here to serve. And it really repositions you in every environment, because you really have to kind of like be less to yourself, which is very loving. That's what love does. And so it's going to be an exciting year. I think I hope that everyone feels and just declares that this is going to be the best year of our life, because
Yes.
we're going to be intentional, and we're going to trust God more, and we're going to go with the flow, and we're going to trust that His plan is perfect, even in the challenges.
Yes. Amen.
Yeah, that's good.
So yeah, we could keep going on with this. We've got so much. I don't know. Maybe we'll do some future broadcasts together or something. We'll work out something. But anyway, I am so excited again that you guys have joined us, and we invite you to um, to join us completely, like in this movement.
Yeah,
This may be the first time you're hearing about this, the 316, the prayer. If you're in our friend circle, we've told you about it. You've heard about our tea time and things like that, but come join us.
yeah,
Do something different.
yeah,
Um, and I put in the chat how to get connected with Eric, his different websites, and you can connect with him on Facebook and follow him there, and see the daily broadcast. And then just go ahead and even right now in your phone, set 316, set the
yeah,
alarm. Just do it now. So yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Eric, thank you so much for coming on today. I
yes,
try to keep it within an hour, and I knew it was going to be a challenging one. Um, but just really inspired by what God's doing in you right now, and just I just know He's going to do great things this coming year, and so God's best on you. Thanks
yes.
again.
Thank you so much. It's a great opportunity, and even on this New Year's Day, we can all join together at 316 every time zone, just knowing that you're connected. You're
Yes.
connected to something bigger than just you, and we're really changing the world, and we're bringing heaven to earth. And
Right.
what a gift!
Right. Well, everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll see you next time on
Yeah,
Without Walls. It'll be me and Miss Neva. So happy New Year, everyone.
yeah. Happy New Year.